Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity and Love. Incredible guests the world over with amazing insights. They've all been through some sort of personal transformative journey, and they are, generally speaking, giving service to others or helping us out with their art, their books, their teachings. They're healers, New York Times bestsellers. We've had a Super Soul Sunday, Oprah Super Soul Sunday guest, a White House physician to the U.S. president, Rear Admiral retired. Amazing guests, again, from 25 plus countries. So we're super lucky to have them on such a small show. The difference with our show, oftentimes guests take steps off camera, on camera sometimes too, with angels and other loving figures, but they sometimes also just catch the smell of sage. I light sage. You too can take all these steps. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share this. Again, we're super small, so if you share it to someone who likes the whole concept of life, spirituality, love, positivity, and more, they're going to love this show, and they're going to love the guests. And speaking of which, from Texas, just an hour away the way a helicopter flies, we've got Leanne Venier with us. She's an engineer. She's an Eastern medicine physician, artist, innovator or inventor. She's done presentations at South by Southwest. She's all about color therapy and has been doing this a super long time. I'm going to let her do a little bit of intro. That'll be the very first question after we get the hellos done. Leanne, super fantastic to see you again. I am thrilled to have you on this show. I have wanted to have coffee with you for about 5 to 7 years when I was living in Austin. We're finally getting to do this on camera. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Michael. I'm excited to speak with you and have all these wonderful sharings and experiences. So
you have one of the most colorful, no pun and pun intended, backgrounds possible. You love giving back to society is how I'm going to put it. And sometimes at a profit, because you do good business, you invent things, and you do a good job of selling and marketing. So you're a good business person. Talk to us about the big picture. What do you do for folks today? What were you doing before? How has it transitioned a little bit? And where do you think you're headed in the future?
Okay, well, in a nutshell, my background, I used to be an engineer designing submarines for Lockheed, didn't find that fulfilling, ended up moving to Italy for 7 years. I've always been interested in alternative healing, natural healing, and psycho-emotional root of healing. That's pretty much a constant throughout my life, as well as having a massive distrust for big pharma since I was like, I'm shorter than the camera reaches. Even though I came from a family of pill poppers in Canada where you could get codeine over the counter. And nonetheless, that was kind of a constant throughout my life, learning, exploring, being very curious about things, and then sharing everything that I learned with others. Those are kind of the constants. And then the engineering path, well, that was after I studied classical music. I was a classically trained pianist. So, but then went the engineering route. So I've done this left brain, right brain thing throughout my life. And didn't find the engineering work fulfilling, moved to Italy for 7 years, studied all kinds of alternative healing modalities while enjoying and having a fabulous time living in Florence, Italy. And then I came back to the States and went back to school for acupuncture and shiatsu and a much deeper in-depth study of 5 elements, psycho-emotional, root of illness, disease, how color integrates with all of that, which I'd already been studying extensively in Italy with the chakra system and all kinds of other healing modalities around the energy system, quantum healing, prana therapy, Reiki, I basically started off in the physical realm with herbology and then moved up into the more subtle energy realm. So you can address the root of illness, disease by treating and healing the energy body system and get very fast, dramatic results. So all of that, I moved to British Columbia to finish my in-depth training in 5 elements, and I had a healing practice working with cancer patients up there. I decided to come back to Austin, which is where I had been living and started my Eastern medicine studies in Austin before I moved to Canada. Decided to come back to Austin. And at that point, I didn't really feel like I'd been doing healing work for so many years at that point, because all the time that I was in Italy, I was doing healing work with my students because I started a language school. So anyway, everything kind of fed into each other. Everything just kind of happened organically. I don't plan things. So things evolve and come about. I get downloads, as I call them, from my guides. And I follow those downloads, regardless of how crazy they may seem or how much I don't want to do them, because that's very often the case. So, but anyway, I was feeling like I didn't want to do the one-on-one healing work anymore, because I felt like I have so much more information to share. Had no idea how that was going to come about and didn't plan on any of that. But what I did know was that I needed to recharge my own life force energy batteries, because I'd been feeling depleted from all the studying and working with my patients and not taking care of myself. So I took a beginner painting class, and my desire was to learn how to work with paint and then be able to paint abstracts. I didn't care about, like, because I can draw. I've been a good drawer all my life. I've been very creative, creating all kinds of stuff throughout my life. I didn't want to paint bowls of fruit or, landscapes or anything like that. I just wanted to get that whole connected, interconnected feeling and use color to create abstract paintings. So that's what I started doing. And I started getting a massive amount of attention for my beginner paintings that I was creating in flow state. I'd get into the zone simply by using the colors that I was drawn to. It was something that I just discovered one day, because I couldn't get into flow in the class, because we were doing things like, here, we're going to paint this bowl of fruit. We're going to paint this, nude now. We're going to do. Anyway, that wasn't interesting to me. So I started painting on my own time at home. And that was where I could get into flow. And I discovered, just, again, kind of a download. I started mixing colors of paint. They were indigo and violet on that particular day. And I started mixing those colors together, and I couldn't stop staring at the color. And I was just like, it just catapulted me into flow state and the zone. And I started painting a larger canvas than I'd ever painted on up to that point. It's daunting when you're a new artist. The bigger canvas you go, it's like, this is expensive. It's an expensive canvas, and if you mess it up. So there's this internal angst kind of thing, but I just bypassed all of that. And then I started painting. I created this diptych, 2 paintings. It wasn't just in that one painting session, but that was the groundwork for the painting. And those first 2 paintings are actually hanging in Hong Kong in the offices of a global energy investment company. All of my first paintings are with high-end collectors, except for a couple that I kept for myself. Anyway, I started, I got a download after I started getting all this attention for my paintings. I wasn't planning to be a full-time artist, but I got a download. Now you need to become a full-time professional artist. And I was like, I don't think that's going to be interesting enough for me to just be an artist, because I'm interested in so many different topics. But I did. So I found a studio, and then my art career just kind of took off. All I did was put a handful of paintings on a website, no SEO, nothing. It's just put that on the very podunk, very basic website, because I didn't know how to build websites back then. Anyway, so I started getting attention from international curators, international design magazines that wanted me to be featured as their artist. And I was like, is this like, are you wanting me to pay you? Is this an ad thing? Like what do you call those vanity ads that look like? And they're like, no, we only publish 4 times a year. And they had like 57,000 copies that they distributed all around the world. And they're like, we want you to be the featured artist for our like fall edition or whatever it was. So all these weird things, getting invited to an international exhibition in Italy at this castle, having nothing to do with the fact that I had been living in Italy for 7 years prior to, coming back to the States. All these weird synchronicities happening. I won international awards, because then my paintings went on to other exhibitions there, and I won like grand prize of the jury. So it was just a very bizarre kind of trajectory. I mean, like, and artists especially would be like, how did you get started? How do you get all this like recognition, and how are you selling your paintings for so much money? And I'm like, I create my paintings in flow state. It took me a long time to even acknowledge and understand that when people were staring at my paintings and they'd start crying, and I'm like, what's wrong with them? Like I couldn't understand. And they're like, I feel so connected, and that like I just can't stop staring at these paintings. And then I'd have people that would be, I can't stop staring at your red paintings or your blue paintings or indigo paintings, whatever color, primary color they were drawn to. Then I would tell them, well, when you're attracted to that color, it may mean you have this going on in your body and this going on in your life. And they'd be like, oh my God, that's exactly what's going on in my body and my life. How do you know? And I said, because I cross-connected and came up with this system that I can tell, I can diagnose what's going on with you based on the color frequencies that you're feeling drawn to, as well as the ones that you're feeling repelled by. So people were like, oh my God, where's the book? I want to read the book. And I'm like, this isn't a book. This is in my head. This is like hundreds of books and me connecting the dots between all these things. And they're like, well, you got to write a book. Are you going to write a book? And I'm like, oh, do you know how much work that would be? So people pestered me for 3 years just to like, can you at least put some of this stuff on your website then? Because I really want to go back and like reread what you just told me and then read about the rest of the colors. And I was like, finally, after 3 years, literally, of pestering from so many people, from these one-on-one and then group conversations, I finally put a very pared down version of the information on my website. And I was like, okay, good. Now leave me alone. Go. Like, I put it out there, but now it's on the internet. So then I started getting contacted by major medical universities to come and lecture for the medical doctors and medical students. The first one was in San Antonio, in fact, the UT Health Sciences Center in San Antonio, where you are, and also exhibit my paintings along with the scientific information about the healing effects of color and light. So that's where the whole thing started. I was also approached after that lecture at UT Health Sciences Center in San Antonio by some of the people from the cancer research division there who came to my lecture. And there were like tons of people. It was open to the public. So we had medical doctors, medical students, lay people from the public. And they asked me to teach some kind of workshop around color and light for their cancer caregivers. And I decided, well, I don't really just want to give them a lecture. I want to give them an experience, something that they can use for healing for themselves, as well as for the people that they're caring for with cancer, because the caregivers often get so depleted. And I know from having been there myself, when you're working and you're helping other people, you often do it at your own expense where you're not taking care of yourself. So one of the first things I always tell people now is you have to put your own oxygen mask on first, just like when the plane is going down. Because if you don't take care of yourself and you don't maintain your own life force energy, you won't be around to help others. So you have to make your own health needs and your own needs in general a priority. So, and that includes being well paid for what you're doing. And a lot of times people are like, well, I'm in the healing arts. I shouldn't, this should just be free or whatever. And that is kind of the natural desire, because you naturally have this desire to help people. You don't do it. You're not drawn to doing it because of the paycheck. I write my own paycheck to myself, but I haven't worked for anybody. I haven't worked for anybody since shortly after Lockheed. Yeah. So, when I moved to Italy, I started my language school, and then I was doing all the studying. Anyway, where did I go? I went off on a tangent, as I so often do.
The workshop for the caregivers.
Oh yeah. So that's how my creative color and creative flow workshop came about, because I created this method so that people could experience flow state. So I had them using color and kinesthetic and sound, and it would catapult them into flow state, and they'd get all these answers for themselves. And then they could take that tool and use that throughout the rest of their lives. And I was only going to teach it one time. I basically reverse engineered my own flow process to understand what I was doing using color, and how you can use color for facilitating your own flow process. But not just that, also Jungian psychology and certain shapes and things like that. So things that come out organically during the drawing process that you can then analyze and get even deeper understanding, in addition to the downloads that you get while you're in that flow state zone. So anyway, I was planning to just do it one time, one and done. And I happened to go to a women's networking event that a few days after that weekend. And somebody said, oh, what did you do this past weekend? I said, oh, I taught her creative flow color and creative flow workshop down in San Antonio. And they're like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. Would you do, I want to do that. I want to do that. And then all these other women come around. I want to do that workshop. Can you teach it? And I'm like, because I don't like doing the administrative stuff, like organizing, and then taking money. Anyway, but I did. I started doing that twice a year. And yeah, I had tons of people. They'd come in from, all over. I was teaching those in person. Anyway, long story short, what ended up happening, with all of my teachings, basically I validated the science of light therapy for the masses and the medical community. And I just wanted people to get more sunshine. And so I was teaching them about the fact that sunshine has all of these colors within it. Nobody was talking, very little was even being discussed about the benefits of sunlight back then. The UVB information had just come out very recently. It hadn't even gained a lot of traction, widespread traction. It was just kind of starting to get out there where people were starting to understand, oh, vitamin D production from UVB. But then they're like, oh, well, I can just take, vitamin D. It's important, except that it's a completely different, taking artificial vitamin D, which is a very important hormone in the body, by the way. It's a misnomer to call it a vitamin, but just like melatonin is a very important hormone that does a lot more than, make us sleepy. It's a very important antioxidant, has all kinds of healing benefits and health optimization benefits. So when people are deficient in vitamin D, hormone D, melatonin, your health is going to suffer. But and again, these are all tied in with sunlight, circadian rhythm, the colors that are found within sunlight. So I basically connected the dots, brought in the hard science, explained the electromagnetic spectrum, the frequencies that are found, usually they're called nanometers for wavelengths. Explained all of the physics in really easy to understand terms, used real world experience, talking about lights, the fact that light bulbs have color within them. So you have this, oh yeah, I know that some are cool white bulbs and some are warm white bulbs, warm having more red, orange, and yellow, cool bulbs having more blue in them, which emulates the middle of the day. That's why they're often called daylight bulbs. So, and then the warmer ones are like dawn or dusk. And then just connecting the dots between how we are influenced and how our bodies utilize these different color frequencies and the healing effects that they provide also, and bringing in research that had been around for over 100 years at that point, as well as newer modern research about using colored light or sunlight for eliciting specific healing effects, accelerating wound healing and things like that. So my earliest talks were like an hour and a half, and that was me really, really trying to pare down the information and make it as concise as possible. But to shift a paradigm for people and give them a completely different understanding, because we've been programmed to think, oh, you have a problem, you have a symptom, you take a pill. You have a worse symptom, you go get surgery. You have more symptoms, you get more pills. So, it's like, don't worry about changing your diet or getting off your butt and going out and exercising or getting sunshine or time in nature. Just take this pill. It's like, you can't digest your food, take a pill. So, and that's been, massive programming for decades, since Big Pharma has, gotten their stranglehold on people and the whole psyche. So, anyway, my desire, just because I would see so many people that were avoiding sunshine because they'd been programmed to think that it was causing cancer. It's like, you're avoiding sunshine and you have cancer. So you don't get sun and you have cancer. So also explaining the directly inverse proportional relationship between the more you avoid sunlight, the less sunlight you get, the more likely you are to die of any cause. All-cause mortality goes up. All types of cancer, there's a direct inverse correlation. But I also wanted to help people understand it's not just about sunshine, because if you're laying in the sun in the middle of New York City, where you have all these toxic energies around you, chaotic energy, pollution, EMF, Wi-Fi, all this stuff, and you're just bombarded by toxic energies, that depletes your life force energy. You're like, if you think of the life force energy is what differentiates you sitting there speaking with me now, Michael, versus you laying on the ground dead in front of me. So if you didn't have that life force energy, radiating within you, you would just be a hunk of flesh without any life. Western medicine does not distinguish between a hunk of flesh versus a living piece of flesh. The research and studies are done on, they take a chunk of flesh out and they analyze things and how drugs are going to interact with the dead chunk of flesh. So, among other things, I should turn my ringer down here. So anyway, all of the teachings were basically to get people to be aware of how important it is not just to spend time in the sunshine, but also to get out in nature. That's where there's an abundance of life force energy, where you can just go out and feel this energy that you pull in, from when you're out in a forest or trees or in the mountains or by a beautiful ocean or big body of water or running stream. All of that feeling that you get, that both relaxed feeling but energized feeling, that's you taking in that life force energy. And cities are devoid of life force energy. I mean, not completely, but they have very little. It's like, and when you're in a net negative situation, if you're in a city, you basically have all these things that are like somebody stuck a straw in your gas tank and siphoning off that life force energy constantly. So that's why people end up getting so depleted and exhausted. And then they do things like they drink a ton of coffee or they drink Red Bull. They're trying to compensate for that, lack of energy, lack of life force energy, by using artificial stimulants like caffeine to give them a jolt of energy. And it's not sustainable, obviously. And then you do that long enough, then you start getting adrenal fatigue, and then you get even more burned out. And then you have all these physical symptoms that are related not just to, abusing your physical body through trying to, take whether it's pills or supplements, pharmaceutical drugs or supplements, trying to medicate the symptoms, which makes you worse and worse and depletes your life force energy more and more. So anyway, that was the point of my teachings. But what ended up happening is that light therapy started catching on. Like people started understanding, oh, I can use colored light. And because I emphasized red and blue, because those were the two colors that had been mostly researched in modern research, only for that reason, because I could validate here. It's like, but I can tell you by extrapolation that all of the modern research supports what we've known in ancient healing modalities for thousands of years. So I cross-connected everything so that you could say, okay, well, I know that red light does this, but we've already known this for thousands of years. Now we have scientific data and research that validates it. So then I went beyond that. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, which are all the colors within visible light of the rainbow. So this is what's coming from sunlight. This is the electromagnetic spectrum of what comes through from sunlight, and the visible light spectrum, the tiny amount, that tiny little sliver there, that's what contains all of these colors. So, and then there's infrared and ultraviolet, which are on either end. So infrared being below red and ultraviolet being above violet, and those are invisible frequencies. So ultraviolet B, UVB, is what stimulates vitamin D production in your skin when you get exposed to the sun at the right time of day where there's enough UVB so that your skin can produce the vitamin D. As long as your vitamin D production aspect of your physical body is working the way that it's supposed to. So there are physical systems that are governed by the different energy systems, the meridians that control different organs, the muscles, the sinews, tendons, all of that. So they all correlate and they are all governed by specific energy systems. Those energy systems have colors that strengthen those specific energy systems. So for example, liver gallbladder energy system, which is the wood element, is strengthened by the color green. Spleen stomach energy, which is earth element, which is all about self-nurturing, taking care of yourself, feeding, and all about assimilating nutrients from the food, transforming fluids. Those colors are orange and yellow, the colors of autumn. That's just a couple of examples. And obviously liver gallbladder is all about detoxification from a physical standpoint as well as an energetic standpoint. And from a psycho-emotional standpoint, it gives you clarity about your direction in life. So if you're at a crossroads and you feel like you're feeling drawn to green, wearing green, buying green, but green towels, being around it, wanting to be in nature, it's you often are like, I can't make a decision. Which path should I go? This one or this one? And it will be a natural way that your body will help you to get those answers by strengthening the energy system that governs those things. Just like, anyway, but it governs all these physical aspects as well. So when people have, you know, tightness in their neck, they get stressed out and everything gets tight around here. They have shoulder tightness, or they have a shoulder injury, or they have hip pain, knee pain sometimes. Yeah, those are usually related to stuck liver gallbladder energy and toxicity in the liver gallbladder energy system, which then can manifest in the actual physical organ where you have toxicity in the liver, which is what I had for many, many years growing up in a very stressful household, which weakened my liver gallbladder energy because of the stress that I was under constantly. Anyway, so I basically connected all these dots and taught about how, and gave real world examples about how people, you know, how we experience these colors in real life. And it gave people the experiential part, which they already were familiar with, but had never really even thought about it. Like they never thought, oh yeah, my favorite color is this, but I never really thought about why. And then giving them the tools to understand, you know, like look at what your favorite colors are, both in your home or that you like to wear on your body, and look at the colors that you're drawn to right now. Maybe you're not drawn to your normal favorite colors. So just giving people these abilities to use color and start paying attention to color, which is color and light are synonymous, by the way. And you can't have color without light, and you can't have light without color within it. So giving people the ability to start understanding themselves better simply by paying attention to the colors that they're being drawn to. So all of my teachings, and then also how to utilize sunlight and color for actual eliciting of healing benefits. So, and that all started with the paintings, because these paintings had a physical thing in the real world that people could now have this experience with color. And it's what started, it was the catalyst for these conversations about the healing effects of color and light. And that's why my website, I already had LeanneVenier.com when I was a professional artist. And then I created catalyticcolor.com. When I spoke at South by Southwest Interactive, that was the name of my talk, Catalytic Color, Flow and the Balanced Brain Benefit. So it was all about using color and tapping into flow and how it enhances the brain, cognitive function, productivity, and all of that. So then the website that I created after that was catalyticcolor.com. And this is all before I ever launched my own product line. I had no interest in launching a light therapy device. I didn't want to do anything that felt like going back into engineering. I didn't want to manufacture anything. I didn't want to sell anything. I was doing all this teaching for free. My funding was coming from my artwork sales. So I was able to do what I was passionate about, teach all this stuff, because I was getting very well paid as a full-time professional artist. So I was selling my paintings for a lot. I was making six figures by the beginning of my third year as a beginner. I was still like technically a beginner painter. But because I was creating paintings in flow, that I was just channeling them. I mean, it was my hands, you know, my body that was creating the paintings. But I still, to this day, I'm like, I would look at my own paintings. I'm like, how the heck did I do that? Like, I knew how I did it. It's not like I would black out or something, but I was there present, but I was also being guided throughout the whole process. I would literally hear, you know, now put it on the floor, now put a big slab of white paint across, now like spray it, now shake it, you know. So I would just know what to do. So I wasn't kind of using my own experience to create these paintings because I didn't have any experience. It was just all coming through me. But it was an important step, because had I not done the painting and created the paintings, it would never have started all of these conversations. And that was what started the whole ball rolling. So after UT Health Sciences Center in San Antonio, the lecture there and the exhibition of my paintings, I made it so that you'd go into one room and you'd experience the paintings. and you could just see, oh, I'm feeling really drawn to red or orange, yellow. So I made a whole sequence. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, magenta, white, and experience the colors that way. And then go to another area and read about the science and about the ancient healing modality applications of those colors. So you could understand in which organ systems, which aspects of the psyche, which emotions are connected with those colors. So then you can get, oh, well, that totally makes sense because, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but after that exhibition, then I got invited at UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, that houses 10,000 people up there. They invited me to do the same thing and bring the exhibition up there. Oh, and by the way, a very important part of the whole equation is when the curator for the UT Health Sciences Center in San Antonio exhibition, she was told about my work. She reached out to me, and this all happened within a couple of months, maybe not even a couple of months, of me putting that information that people had been pestering me for 3 years to put on my website. That was where it's like, now it's out in the world. So that's how the whole UT Health Sciences Center in San Antonio thing came about, because now it's there. We want you to do an exhibition. We do these medical healing based exhibitions that have a science component with them and an art component. So, and it was somebody in their research division, medical coordinator that had been following my paintings for a few years at that point. Throughout, his wife had gotten sick with cancer and then she passed away. He used to go to my website all the time, and it would just, staring at my paintings would just make him feel so much better. And so I didn't know any of this. He had friended me on Facebook, and I didn't know any of this. But then when I put the page on my website, and he went to my website all the time, as soon as I put it on there, because I did the condensed version, I just kind of copy pasted it onto my website. And then he's like, I just saw this color healing and art page on your website, and we do these exhibitions. Well, not him, but the curator does these exhibitions at UT Health Sciences Center in San Antonio. He's like, do you want me to put you in touch with the curator? And I said, okay, well, I'm not going to reach out to her, but you can tell her and send her my website if she wants to reach out to me. Because I didn't do anything. I didn't contact galleries. I didn't do any of the conventional stuff. I never contacted anybody to exhibit my artwork. It all found me, and invitations just kept coming. People, again, without SEO or anything. I mean, it was just like a few images on the internet, and so things just kind of kept landing in my lap. And all I had to do was make. I started off saying, if I'm going to do this full-time artist thing, I'm going to be a very well-paid artist. I'm not doing the whole starving artist, paradigm. I'm rejecting that whole notion. I'm going to be a very well-paid artist. And this was when we're going through a massive recession also. And artists that I knew would be like, oh, nobody buys art in a recession. That's the first thing to go. And I'm like, you don't know the right people. Because there are a lot of people that are not affected by the recession. So it's a mindset thing. And, but, people choose they create their own reality. So anyway, I went off on a tangent again, but basically, yeah, using the paintings as the catalyst started the whole ball rolling with the exhibitions and that sort of thing. And the thing about the curator from UT Health Sciences Center in San Antonio, she came up to my gallery to see the paintings in person before saying, because sometimes, paintings that you see online, actually, they don't look as good in person. And I was like, mine look way better in person than they do in photograph. So she came up and felt the energy of them. And with her husband, they're like, okay, well, yeah, the next opening we have is in April or March or April, I can't remember. And this was in 2000, what year was that? 2010. I'm so bad at remembering years. Anyway, a long time ago. Then as they're walking out the door of my gallery, her husband turns to her and says, she has to give a talk. And she's like, well, we don't give talks with these. We just do the exhibition. We do the learning part and the art. And we've never done a talk. He's like, she has to give a talk. She can't just put information. She has to give a talk. And they turned to me and she's like, do you want to give a talk? And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to learn PowerPoint. That was literally the first thing that came to my mind, because I'm like, oh, but then I also got the download, yes, you have to give a talk. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll give a talk. I'd never given, like, I'd done interviews with journalists and stuff like that, but I'd never done a presentation in front of people, let alone a room full of, medical doctors and medical students. So I was like, yeah, that's what I have to do. So I'll just figure it out. So anyway, that's where the whole lecturing part started. And then I just kept getting invited to lecture, like I said, South by Southwest Interactive, then the Mensa conference, then other big health conferences, then big international medical conferences. And again, these were all people finding me. I didn't go and, oh, I want to speak at this conference. So, anyway, and lots of podcasts, more journalism interviews, radio shows, television. Yeah, that's how it all started. I don't know if that answered whatever the original question was.
It was a great answer. It was beautiful. Let's go off into uncharted waters. Who are 3 of the most interesting, absolutely adorable people you met along the way? You never would have met had you not just either picked up the paintbrush or something else or done this invention. Who are 3 of the most interesting folks? You can abstract them a little. Were they from abroad? Were they from Texas? From somewhere else? Were they engineers? Were they just...
Well, I think I have some very close friends who I are now close friends of mine. From, like, one of them, Christine Upchurch, she used to have her own radio program, and they reached out to me, her assistant. She got a download. We need to do a radio show about color and light. She had a nationally syndicated radio show. So so her assistant, I happened to be spending a month in Peru, doing a trekking about for a month, but also doing a 9-day ayahuasca retreat. I had just come back to internet from being in the jungle, and I get this email. Like, it came in like the instant I got, it wasn't like it was sitting in my queue waiting to be downloaded. It came in as soon as I had internet, and within like an hour, this email came in. We want to have you on the show. Anyway, so yeah, Christine, who's now become a good friend of mine. Other people who have, since me launching my own product line at the end of 2006, the REDjuvenator, which is much more than a light therapy device. But I haven't, like, I meet a lot of people. I meet a lot of very famous people are customers of mine. I kind of, I guess, think in terms of more like, who do I have an immediate connection with? Because there were a lot of things that happened, since 2020 onwards, where a lot of people that were in my network that didn't really see what was going on, and I saw it plain as day. I kind of like cleared out that clutter of the people. It's like, I can't believe you can't see what's really going on. And then just made room in my closet. And then all of a sudden I had all these new, much stronger connections and friendships. So I think it's kind of an ever evolving thing. I have so many amazing customers, and so many of them have become personal friends. And again, like a lot of famous people. But I don't, yeah, it's not like I met the Dalai Lama or something. No, I haven't met the Dalai Lama, but, so I don't have like top 3 people. I don't have, it doesn't matter to me, what somebody's level of, it's more about people that are doing amazing things in the world. And we are now connecting and kind of banding together. So it's a frequency thing. Does that make sense? I mean, in meeting you, I mean, how many times, like, I didn't even know when you reached out to me, I had no idea that you were in Austin before.
Yeah, through LinkedIn, I'm going to say as far back as like 2015, 2016 for a virtual tea or coffee. I do that a lot for folks all over the country. But since you were in Austin, I was in Austin for 10 years. That had been something, I think we had gone back and forth, but we had never said anything. So this was the right time doing this show.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. Apparently. Because that's it. And it's funny how things like that, it's like that happened recently with another, like Somebody, he has a podcast. He does all this stuff about um, rippling, connecting with the ripple effect of connecting with other people. And he had reached out to me to do an interview, and I was like, yeah, go ahead and send me the email. I never got the email. And I was like, well, he probably got busy. And then a year later, he's like, you never answered my email. I'm like, I never got the email. But then we did the podcast. It was like, everything happens at the right time. I feel like, it's not a bad thing. If there's a delay or if something doesn't manifest organically, I don't ever look at it as like a negative. It's just, it's not the right time. Or sometimes things are like, they're not right frequency or whatever. So it just kind of falls off. But anyway. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah. Okay. Talk to us about your guides. This is a show where quite often we get into that. Do you want to keep it private? Do you want to describe it as a universal kind of wild crew from all over? Angels, loving guides, more spiritual, what am I trying to say? Spirit guides, ancestors. What way do you describe it? Because it's kind of like artists with all the different modalities, and even two watercolor painters aren't going to be the same. So everyone's got their own way to tackle this. What way do you like to look at it, share it, describe it, that could be inspiring for the rest of us?
Well, I do call them downloads. I mean, I get my downloads. I literally get information. I will often hear it, or other times it'll just be like, and it will often be like single sentence. It's very clear. It's a very clear message. It's not, and people have asked me, like, do you mean intuition? I'm like, no, intuition is a very different thing. Intuition is a feeling which can be, tapped into something, but it's like knowing that I should do a certain thing in general in my life or whatever. I don't even know of a good example.
Like, don't eat the cheeseburger, and then the download is really don't eat the cheeseburger.
Yeah. Yes. Or or something like that. But yeah, or go, like, I used to get them all the time when I lived in Italy. For the next thing that I was supposed to be learning and studying, I literally would go to this bookstore, and it would be a very specific bookstore, and that was the download. And it would be like, okay, well, I have no idea what I'm looking for, but I would just get on my scooter, at a motorcycle scooter, while I lived in Italy, and that's how I got around, and drive into the center of Florence, because I lived in the greenery, the Tuscan hills, so it was beautiful. And I just, drop everything. Well, unless I had a lesson that I was teaching for my private lessons for English. But as soon as I had a chance, then I'd go to the bookstore, and I'd park, I'd walk in, and I just knew where to go. It's like, okay, go here, go to the right, go down these stairs, go into this little room, go and look at the shelf, and then there's the book. So, and it happened over and over again. It wasn't just like a one-time thing.
What type of was it in that instance?
Well, one time, I mean, one particularly memorable one, well, there were a number of them, but there were three really, really memorable. But the one that I'm thinking of right now, where I described that particular room, I'd been studying about energy healing, and I'd been wanting to learn more about feeling the energy. Like, I'm a kinesthetic empath, so I feel things. I pick the energy up from other people. I can feel what they're feeling, both physically and emotionally. It was problematic as a child, but to say the least. But I went into, and this is in Italy, all the books in the bookstores are Italian, except for if they have a little tourist area, paperback, airplane books that I call them. And they might have some English, bestsellers in the United States kind of thing, or the UK. But otherwise, all the books are in Italian. And so I go down, and I was already fluent in Italian at that point. So I go down, and I go into this room, and I know it's like, look on this lower shelf, and there's Barbara Brennan's Hands of Light in English. Ooh. And they had an Italian copy.
Is it the big blue book?
Yeah, and I'm like, this is so weird. Yeah, the big blue one with the hands on it. Yeah, and it was a very important book for me back then. But the weird thing, it was the only English book in the whole room. And it was like I needed to read it. They had an Italian copy, and the Italian copy was more expensive than the original English, which would never be the case, because any English book would always be ridiculously expensive. It was just the most bizarre thing. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess this is the book, obviously, but the fact that it was in English was really bizarre because, and all the other books that I bought were in Italian. Another one was when I did The Artist's Way, and I got a download, which is a huge element of me becoming a professional artist. Had I not done that Artist's Way, program, I did it by myself.
What's her name?
Julie Cameron.
Cameron, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got a download, go to the completely different bookstore. There were about 4 bookstores in the center of Florence. And different bookstore. I go in, I get the download at home. I get on my scooter, drive in. I know where I go. This time I'm going up these stairs. I go to this shelf and I see La Via dell'Artista, the way of the artist. And I'd never heard of it. It was, I guess, popular. I didn't have connections in the United States. Like all of my friends in Italy were Italian. So, and I start looking through it. I'm like, oh, this must be for my friend Lucia because her birthday was coming up. And she was an architect, trained as an architect, but had really been missing, but wasn't working as an architect. She was working for some government agency. So she wasn't doing any of the creative stuff that she really loved doing. And she'd been wanting to get back into that. So I thought, oh, this must be her birthday present. So I buy the copy of it and I take it home and I sit down at my kitchen table and I start reading it. I start highlighting and writing in the book. And I'm like, I better go buy another copy because obviously this is for me. I did buy her another copy, but it was a book for me. So, and it was very formative and it was very important for me in terms of like even changing the paradigm that I'd been programmed with in my family, because even though I was very artistic and creative and was drawing and creating like sculptures and stuff all my life as a child, it wasn't even a conversation. Like you go to university and you study something. Like, and my father was an engineer, so I studied mechanical engineering, but which was extremely unusual for a female. And that was part of the reason that I chose to do it, because not just because I excelled in math and sciences, but I was also an excellent writer. But I didn't want to do something that just like tons of women already do. So a lot of my teachers wanted me to become write literature, be a full-time writer. And I was like, no, there's too many women that do that. I'm going to do the engineering thing because hardly any women do that. And I love math and science as well. So, but yeah, the concept of becoming a professional artist or like even becoming an artist, it just wasn't, no, that's not even, no, that you can't survive doing that. So, I'd been programmed with that starving artist thing. So when I did finally, I got the download to become a professional artist, I just said, I'm not doing the starving artist paradigm at all. So and when I get downloads, and I've gotten them throughout my life, they always have that very clear, it's a clear communication. They'll often be in direct contrast or like with something of my belief system or whatever I have been seeing reality around me. And then I get a download and it's like, whoa, okay, where did that come from? And that can't be right. Even downloads that I've gotten for different healing protocols with the REDjuvenator. I've literally gotten, like one time when I had food poisoning, I had really bad food poisoning and it was coming on fast. And I was like, okay, well, I'll get in bed. This is 8 in the evening. And the REDjuvenator, again, is a quantum healing device with a light therapy component, but it's a full body quantum healing device. It's a square panel, it's like this big. So it's only 1 square foot, but it has a light therapy component, but it's also got the energy medicine component. So when you're treating with it, it's healing and treating your energy body system and putting life force energy, just like when you go out in nature and you get, like absorb all that amazing healing energy from nature, in addition to the light frequencies. So, but I've got, I'm getting worse by the minute. I had eaten at this Formula One racetrack at this event. It was a private VIP booth and they had it catered and they had this amazing salmon, but it was like literally raw and it'd been kept warm in chafing dishes for hours because they don't have outside kitchen facilities there. But it tasted delicious. It wasn't old fish. It just was a perfect breeding ground for bacteria, apparently. And I got the thing when I was eating it, it's like, don't eat the fish. And I'm like, I ignored it. It was like, don't eat the fish. I'm like, hungry. And that's all there is. So like, and it tastes really good, so I'm going to eat it. So anyway, I ignored that. I ignored that message, and then I ended up getting really, really sick. It started hitting about 6 hours later, and back at home, I've just gotten home, and I'm like dying. I'm like going, chills, fever, everything hurts. I have a terrible headache, and I don't get headaches. Everything is all tight, and just your skin is set, like you touch anywhere, it's like my skin hurts. And I'm like, I'm just gonna get in bed. I'll watch some streaming video, and I'll just feel better, later. And so I get in bed. I set up my laptop, which is what I would watch streaming video on. I don't even have enough energy to choose a show to watch. I'm going downhill so fast. I'm sitting up in bed, leaning against my pillows, and I'm dying. And I'm like, ugh. Like you can't, like it's like you just want it to be over as quickly as possible, but you know that you're in for a bit of a ride, and it just keeps getting worse. So I'm laying there, and I get the very clear download: get the REDjuvenator and put it on your upper back. And I'm like, huh? What? Like, no, that I'm dying here. The REDjuvenator's at the foot of my bed, and I'm like in a queen size bed. It's like it's a few feet away, but it's like you're asking me to crawl through the Mojave Desert and go get this thing when I'm already dying of thirst. And it's like, no, I'm not. So I said, no, it's too far away. That's stupid. What would that do anyway? I've got food poisoning. It's like, it's in my stomach. It's, so I'm arguing with my guide, whoever it is. And I don't know who he, she, it, whatever. I don't know. I haven't never tried to put a name or a face or anything. I do get very clear messages. I've felt them tapping my shoulder, things like that. But I'm arguing, and I'm like, no, it's too far away. So again, get the REDjuvenator and put it on your, and it wasn't just my upper back. It's like the detox, what has become like this area here. But I knew where it needed to go. And I'm like, no, it's too far. It's like, I don't know. You're asking me to crawl it. So finally, it's like, get the REDjuvenator and put it on your up. It's like getting more insistent. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I crawl to the end of the bed. I get the thing up from the floor at the foot of the bed where I had a stack of them, and the different formulas. So I get the universal, the number 3. I set it up. I'm like, exhausted. So I plug it in, and I have put it where I'm supposed to. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this stupid thing, I'm going to like use myself as a guinea pig and see if it even, I don't think it's going to do anything. But if it does, I want to know exactly how long it takes to do something. So I look at because I don't keep a clock in my bedroom, which is significant that I had the laptop there. So I look at the time on my laptop as a starting point, and I put it, and I, turn it on, I'm leaning up against it, and I'm like, and I'm feeling like, oh, my headache's going away. All the pain is going away. Like everything, it's just kind of all melting away. And I'm like, I'm 75% better, but I have no idea how many minutes have passed. So I'm like, well, let me see how long this has been, because I have no concept of time at that point. And I look, and it's been 3 minutes. 3 minutes to go from like feeling like I'm dying and still going downhill to feeling almost all the way better. So I did in about another 15 minutes of treatment. And then I'm like, everything's gone. Like all the symptoms are gone. I get up. I'm like, I feel like normal. I can eat. I have nothing, no symptoms. They're gone. Like nothing had ever happened. Anyway, that was how the detox protocol came about. It's a very important protocol for the REDjuvenator. But yeah, so that's kind of my experiences there. They are very clear messages. They're often like also one that I was ignoring, to move to Italy, because like leave my engineering career. I had been laid off from Lockheed prior, which I was ecstatic about. I was really happy that I got laid off. Among all the 9 engineers, our whole team got laid off. And because the government canceled a project. So all the senior engineers that had more seniority came back to their old jobs that we were working on, the DSRVs, the Deep Submergence Rescue Vehicles. They came back to their old jobs. We all got laid off. And I was the only one celebrating. I was like, happy dance. So that was when I took my first trip around Europe, because I'd always wanted to go. Anyway, that was, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't have anybody to travel with. because, my friends worked but I don't want to go alone. So I manifested the perfect individual that I could travel with. And we went like for 7 weeks. And anyway, that trip there, I had really wanted to stay. I loved the feeling and the energy in both France and Italy. I literally felt like my body came alive for the first time. Like I had so much, like I literally felt it as we were landing. The plane was landing. Well, the first place was landing in Paris. And then I could feel it before I even got on the ground. It's like something like this is home. And I felt the same thing when I was in Italy, like even stronger. So I had wanted to stay and like move there because I was like, I have nothing, in the United States. The person I was traveling at the time was my boyfriend. He got very upset that I wanted to like stay in Europe. So I ended up going back. And it took me a few years to finally get back there, but I did. And it was an important time. I ended up running a friend's upscale catering company for that 3 years. Learned everything about running a business. She talked me into coming, like instead of, because I was going to move to Italy. And she said, instead of doing that, run my company for me. And I'm like, I don't know anything about running a company. But anyway, it was very important experience and information that I needed, because then I've never worked for anybody ever since then. So again, all these, the big decisions in my life have always been guided from my guides. And again, I don't know.
We're going to get into the guides in just 1 second.
Okay.
And we're going to ask you about Mensa. We're going to ask you about manifesting, or just simply putting your focus where it needs to go to allow what needs to be allowed for, to bring it in. But let's blow some sage first, give you a little break, because you've been giving us tons of detail. And there is a third bookstore story in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll get to that as well.
That's another important.
Yeah, here's some sage. I'm going to light it, and we've done this on every show, and I think I've done it as a guest on about 70 shows in the last 2.5 years. What's this mean? I'm lighting sage. Look at the smoke. People at home, there's no time and space quite the way you think. You can catch the smell of lit sage. Some people start tasting it the second I start lighting it, but wait for the smoke if you want. Set your intent. I think Leanne can talk to us about that. Ask angels, the universe, your guides to help bring it to you through 2 screens. There's no limits. Leanne, when are you getting some sage? You're only an hour away by the way a helicopter or a really fast bird flies.
So it should be here any second. No, I'm already getting it. I'm already getting it. It's a very clean sage.
This is about our 3rd or 4th time doing this. And if you want to ask for flowers, though, ask your guides to really hit you with a bouquet that rocks your world or floats your boat, that the rest of the day, the week, and the month, you're like, that was really good. It reminds me of blank. And then ask for ocean as well, because you've done a fantastic job getting us fired up for the rest of the show. The last little bits of this and that is you're going to really inspire us on the, how can we get out of our own way to manifest what was organically there the whole time? We just thought something that got in the way of being and allowing and bringing in. Lots of fun. Are you getting any flowers?
Oh, yes. Yeah. But it's interesting because I'm getting more of a visual. Chrysanthemums. Yeah, I don't know why. They're not something I have planted around my house. But,
very French chrysanthemums. Okay, and then also ocean. Did you get any ocean waves?
Yes, and I was getting more of the rocking feeling. The last time when we just did this before the show, I was getting the smell of the ocean. This time I was getting more of the rocking and undulating kind of feeling of being on a boat and like going, that lulling kind of. So,
I love it.
Interesting.
I'll do one more thing, because this is totally you, and I think we did this before too. I'll show you my energy. You don't have to show me yours. I'll just put my fingers up. I'll use this as a background, but blue sky, I'm going to remind people, blue sky is #1 for this. It really makes your colors pop. You're on vacation at the beach, just taking a walk. If you can remember to do this, good luck with that.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. And remember, if you can remember, to remember, when you remember, good luck with that. Twice a month, twice a year is about as much as most of us can do. Here's the background. I put my fingers up like it's Celestine Prophecy, the movie. But a guest who was alive in the 70s said, nah, they were doing it this way way before the movie ever existed. And I know in India, they do it this way. So you get another dad joke. We were doing them just before the show started. As you laugh, you're letting go. Tell us what flow of color you get But then to do it the Leanne Venier way, I settle for just what you're expecting to have happen. Go for extra. It always is that case with you. You can ask your guides to add an X. Once you're seeing a flow of white, green, yellow, 5 colors at once, whatever it is, breathe extra, let go, let your heart, the universe, whatever you want to call it, all with a capital A, bring you an image, a little thing of light, a butterfly, something. You get an extra dad joke, or I'll do Yoda's voice. Here we go for the dad joke. What's the only flower found on the human face? Tulips. Someone said iris the other day, so they're correct. See a little flow of light. What color is it?
I'm seeing the gray and then the yellow. I'm waiting to see other colors because
if anybody wants to squeeze their hands into a fist, that's thinking or the brain, and then open, and that's extra relaxing. It's like turning up the volume on a 1970s stereo component. Breathe extra through the mouth.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yep.
Sorry.
And then what are you seeing now for color? The same or a little more?
No, I'm getting some magenta now.
Okay. And then if you want to ask your guides to add extra sizzle to it, ask for a butterfly, a heart, a little vortex, sparks, flares, something fun, July 4th fireworks. What are you getting off the flow?
Spiral.
Oh, I didn't do that. That was all you. So people at home can replay that. If you have to do something to structure, do a circle, do a hip, chubby checker, Elvis, anything, play your music, dance. No one's going to see you. How can you let go? Only a million ways, but there's 40 million ways to think otherwise. Okay. Leanne, how do you do it? Let's go to one quick, this is a 30-second or a 2-minute thing. We don't want to have you get too many compliments here, but are you not like a little bit of a super genius, and you're willing to go with the flow, even though there's some resistance you've constantly described? You're like, I'm not doing that. Half an hour later, you're like, okay, fine, I'll do it. You've always been super quick up here, like Mensa? Talk to us about some of that just for a second.
Yes. I've seen things very clearly that other people haven't seen all my life. And that's why I've always explained things, because I'd see something plain as day and other people would, so I'd be like, here, look at this, look at it this way. So, and I'm very good about connecting the dots, and I have all this information in my head, and I remember things, even little snippets or articles that I read, and then when I get a new data point, it immediately goes like all these cross connections. Oh, that ties in with this and this and this. So I'm able to, again, it's almost like this holographic image that it gets created from all of this information. So especially when I was learning all these healing modalities, a lot of times what you see with people in the healing arts, they're like, oh, this is what I do. I do this one thing, and it's the best, or whatever, or I'm really an expert in this. And I'm always like, I just keep adding more and more. I do deep dive on something, and then I add it into my toolkit, because I can see how it all interconnects. It's not excluding, this thing. That's why when I did this cross connection between the colors in the chakra system with the colors in the 5 elements system, and cross correlated them, it's like they're not excluding each other. They're not arguing with each other and saying, no, in the chakra system, this color means this, and the 5 elements, it means this, explaining how they all tie it together. But yeah, that's just been normal for me. I remember in elementary school, a good friend of mine, when I was in 3rd grade, and I just started at a brand new elementary school. It was a newly built elementary school. So that's where we ended up meeting. Somebody who became a very good friend of mine. And I remember early on, like within our first year of knowing each other, she said one of the things, and this, we're like in 3rd grade. So I was 7. She might've been 8. I started elementary school when I was 4. She said it was very memorable to me, because it created an impact. And she said, one of the things that I love about you is that you never take things at face value. You're always asking questions. If somebody tells you something, you don't just say, oh, okay. You ask a ton of questions, and you want to know more, and you want to understand things. And I remember thinking, yeah, isn't everybody like that? I mean, it just was so surprising to me that she pointed it out. And I'm like, well, yeah, everybody's like that, aren't they? And I've realized throughout my life. but a lot of people are not. So, anyway, that has been a constant throughout my life. So, and I somehow knew how to read before I even started kindergarten. I remember my brother having a conniption in the kitchen when I was like, I had 3, I think, and the newspaper was on the table and I was reading it, and there was a word that I didn't understand, and I said, and my brother was 4 years older than me, so he already knew how to read, and I was reading this sentence and I came to a word and I said, what, I read the sentence and I said, what does this word mean? Like after I read, and he looked at me and he, like, his eyes got really big and he started screaming, Mom, Leanne knows how to read. And it was just like, what? Like, what did I do wrong? Anyway, so I have different memories. And then also, when I started getting downloads and knowing things and knowing that the phone would ring, and I would tell people, oh, the phone's going to ring and it's going to be, grandma or something, or whatever it was. And then, and then I'd start getting these weird looks and, like, oh, you can't know that. And I learned to just kind of keep my mouth shut with that kind of stuff. I learned they're telling me no, they're trying to convince me that my experience is not real, and I'm just going to not tell them about those experiences. So I just started learning at an early age to not, because I think so many children do have experiences, and then people are like, oh, you don't have that, that friend or whatever you think you're seeing or hearing. And then they get talked out of it, and then they stop getting those messages, or they stop getting visited by their guides or whoever it might be, because they get convinced that it's their imagination. Well, you just have an active imagination. So I think that's what happens also with society. And, children get, pulled away and pushed away from our natural, true connection with these, our guides or whatever. I still don't know. I don't know what to call.
We'll figure that out one way or the
Okay.
other. And we'll have to have you back on the show later in 2025 to have you follow up with where we left off for today. But
Okay.
I got 3 angels for you, and then Audrey Hepburn, another angel, and then Sri Shirdi Sai Baba from India, just because we have a really cool colorized historical photo. And back to what you were saying, we know there's certain stuff that the way most people work, it can't be. But we know photographs can't move, and yet those are going to be 2 photographs historical that you can get a wink, a smile, the eyebrow goes up. It's a great chance for people to meet their ego, psyche, intellect, brain that goes, I didn't just see that. And then the heart says, ooh, pretty smile, do it again. But first, I got an angel named Joy, who's the emotion Joy. People could put their hand up or use their whole body as a feeling radar station, whatever you want to call it, a catcher's mitt. Feel what you feel, don't judge, breathe through the mouth. 1 millimeter open is just an unofficial way of letting extra happen. She's got a high, peppy voice, though. If you want to ask her, what do I need to know in life right now? Hear a beautiful 28-year-old voice go, hey. And Leanne, if you want to share out loud, breathe through the mouth, no try Yoda, breathe, breathe, breathe. I'm going to do Yoda's voice to make everybody laugh.
There's something coming through and it's garbled.
Oh.
It's something about direction. There's a path. I don't know. Sometimes when I get the information when we've been doing this, I get something, it's like I know the information, but I don't have words to go with it, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like it's a feeling, there's something like a pathway. I'm walking down a pathway and I don't know what that means right now. I don't know what that has to be with. But that's what I'm getting. I can see myself going down this path. And I don't know what it's like unpacking things. So remember when I've said some of them I get, and it's like not like an instant download where there's very clear information.
Yep.
But it's something that comes and it's like it's information, but it's like you don't, like when you read a book and there's a part that you read, but you don't have the knowledge to understand. So like, so you don't really absorb that part because I don't have that experience to even really know that what they're talking about. But then you read the same book, a few months later, or a year later, and you've had some of their experience in the meantime. And you're like, I don't even remember reading that the last time. And that's so it's like that. It's kind of like, there's some information that I don't have enough it's like a future thing, and I don't know what it means yet because it ties in with something in the future. Feels like it's near future.
I'll put Audrey Hepburn. Let her winked smile move in the photograph. Feel she's half grace, half sparkle in the moment. And if you want to catch an uninvented perfume out of Paris, or make it Italy, Milan, Florence, some amazing perfume manufacturer there, inventor, catch something in the air and hear her voice crystal clear, just something really easy about day to day.
Yeah.
And did you get a movement in the photograph?
I did. I got a movement, a smile. And it's more just about being happy.
Sure.
I don't know if there's like a positive happy.
Oh yeah, no, that's a home run. And then here's
it gave me a surge of energy because I feel like this, like everything just kind of went.
I love it. Sri Shirdi Sai Baba, the one from 100+ years ago. I once had a show host who's pretty well known get upset that I was just saying Sai Baba. But if you look at social media in a lot of spots, characters count, and having to do longer names, I figure most people aren't going to assume it's the one from 30 years ago. Not sure he'll ever talk to me again, but Sri Shirdi Sai Baba, the one from 100 years ago, to be respectful, here's the colorized photo. And he's Mr. Miracles, tight with angels, and what am I supposed to say? Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism. But just the sweetest person ever. You can get an eyebrow going up, ears wiggling. Are you getting a movement?
Nose. There's like a nose movement. That's weird. I wouldn't have expected that.
I got it. Catch an incense from an Indian temple you didn't know 10 meters behind you in the big jungle of green lusciousness, the highest vibration only from India. Catch an incense as if it was wafting from the temple. And it's very, what do I call it? Peaceful? Relaxing?
Yeah. Oh, that's, yeah.
And then have him make a rendezvous with you for later in the day, the week, the whenever, and you'll follow up with him. But meanwhile, what's he got as the shortest, quickest, easiest reminder about whatever?
Yeah, I'm just feeling it's about being peaceful and zen and calm and staying calm in the face of like stressful situations.
I got Maelstrom. Okay, here's Charlotte, a blue ball light, who's everybody's favorite school teacher from third form, third grade, Mrs. Wilson, not Mrs. Johansson, who got you in trouble. She might have been Nefertiti in ancient Egypt, so if you want to go crazy, catch ancient Egyptian incense coming in. Let some blue light therapy come your way, Leanne, because you've shared so much, you deserve some kick butt blue light. And she's a sweetie, but more like Audrey Hepburn's elegant sister. Silver hair, Santa Fe, New Mexico garb if you want to see her. White flowing outfit, turquoise jewelry, elegant as heck. I've seen her in a Starbucks Northwest. Wait, let me do it. Northwest, 620, right near Lake Travis, the one at Four Corners. She was sitting in Santa Fe, New Mexico outfit. Stood out like a sore thumb, and all my 10 years in Austin, I've never seen anybody dressed like her. So truly, Santa Fe, New Mexico. She drank her coffee the whole time. I'm meeting with my book editor. She's just staring at me. She's sitting at the window at a wooden bar slat thing. Everyone always at those seats is staring out to people watch. She's not. She's turned the wrong way. She's staring for like an hour, sipping her coffee. And I ask the important questions. When they're here, do they drink the coffee? I didn't ask who killed JFK. I asked, do they drink the coffee when they're here? And she's like, yes, they drink the coffee when they're here. What did you get from Charlotte?
I was mostly focused on what you were saying. I wasn't even tuning in. Sorry.
Did you get any insights?
Story.
Could you feel the vibe? See any colors?
Yeah. Well, nothing. Just the blue that I was seeing. That was it. Because I was in left brain listening to your story, so I kind of got pulled out of that. But
We'll do one more. Oceany, light waves of energy in water. Min, like Minnesota, Lakota Sioux word for water. Some people call her Mother Hawaii. She's definitely got Hawaiian spirituality in her. She's my guardian angel, and last week's Dr. Karen Wyatt talks about her. That's her guardian angel as well. There's probably 80,000 of us that have her. And that was...
How do you know?
That was August 30th episode of 2024 for people who want to go back to listen to Dr. Karen Wyatt. This is the angel who stood over her bed as a whitish, beautiful Hallmark angel. And from that moment on, she knew she wanted to be a doctor. And here she is talking to us in the interview as a retired physician. And she got to meet her on Redondo Beach for half an hour in human form, sparkly eyes. And how do you know a good cup of coffee is a good cup of coffee? You just know. Just like you know a good moo-moo cow if you happen to be in the livestock collecting beautiful creatures for your farm. You just know when they're cute.
Yeah.
Okay, Leanne, what are you getting? Any ocean, any Hawaii, any smell?
I definitely Hawaii vibe, uplifting, clean air, kind of an ocean feel in general, but more of a high energy vibe. And the colors, the vibrant colors, like the greens and blues, and just that really vibrant, high energy feeling, but not in a city, not in a city in Hawaii. Not like, yeah.
Not even Waikiki.
Yeah, no.
Maybe we'll give Waikiki a break. If you're on the beach out in front of Waikiki, maybe. Okay, Leanne, let's get back to the business of, we'll start to wrap up the interview, but tell us about the third bookshop. You had two. Remember, there was the Artist Way and there was the
Oh, there were many more than that, but the three that just came to mind that were the most memorable. I was another very important part of my learning. I had mercury fillings growing up, the silver amalgam fillings as they call them, but are predominantly mercury, I think 79%, which is extremely toxic. So you basically got these toxic, heavy metals in your mouth that are constantly leaching off. So I didn't know how bad they were. I didn't know anything about how bad they were, but one of them started breaking up. I went to a dentist, and he drilled out the rest of the filling. And while I was in the dentist's office, I started feeling terrible. And my whole face, I went into the bathroom, my whole face was all red and splotchy, and everything started hurting. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, where is this coming from? And I didn't know anything about the heart, especially you don't get them drilled out, because then you're already getting flooded with mercury, but on a daily basis. But I just had this from the drilling I just got this toxic overload. It lasted for weeks. So in probably about the second week of having this, and I felt terrible. I felt sick. My whole body hurt. I was extremely irritable, like all the time. It was just like my whole body was like, and I didn't know what it was. Anyway, I get a download, go to this bookstore. Again, I have no idea what it's about. I go into the bookstore and know exactly what room I'm supposed to go into. And I look and I see a book called Denti Tossici, which means toxic teeth. And I'm like, okay, this is the book. I start reading it. I read like so much of it while I'm standing there in the bookstore, and all the symptoms that I'm having are described in detail from the mercury toxicity. Anyway, so obviously I bought that book. It was and then finally, I had the rest of and I even told the dentist, I bought him a copy, because he's like, no, they would never, there's so much programming, and he was like, no, they wouldn't let people, the United States is what teaches us to use these amalgam fillings. If they were dangerous and toxic, they wouldn't be telling us to use them. I found out from reading the book that there were countries in Europe that had already banned them. They were like prohibited, like you could not use them in dentistry. In the United States at the time, dentists were basically kept in a stranglehold where it was illegal for them to tell their patients, even if they knew about the dangers of mercury fillings. If they told their patients about them and it was found out that they were informing them, they lost their license to practice dentistry. They would get stripped from them. So again, big pharma.
Without interrupting too much, but that is, and without getting into anything going on today, so we stay on air on YouTube and elsewhere with all the censorship going on, that is completely parallel to about nine different scenarios going on, whether we're talking this group, that group, this group, this group, and you're a doctor in Houston right now having a lot of difficulty with the Texas Medical Association and so on.
Yeah.
I tell you, I didn't say
Yeah.
So lots of stuff.
That's why I said over the last 4 years, people know what I'm talking. This being 2024, by the way.
Keep going.
Yeah. So, so much. Well, another thing. So another download. Early on, March of 2020, when we know what was going on then, and within 3 weeks, I was like, I got the very clear understand this is not what it appears to be. And then I started digging and doing more research. I thought I was very awake about so much. I mean, I knew about, mainstream media being, propaganda mill. But from many, many years, I knew about big pharma. I knew about all the, the misinformation. There's so much that I've woken up about since then. There were so many things that I had no clue about. Anyway, and I won't go into those, but yeah, so the last 4 years have been very eye-opening in many, many, many ways. Oh, another download that I did get in the middle of 2019, very clear message: buy land. I didn't know what it meant. I was like, what does that mean? Am I supposed to? And I have a house in Austin. I was living in Austin at the time. And I was like, does that mean I'm supposed to buy like a property with a 1/4 acre yard, and then I flip it, and then they can turn it into condos or townhouses or whatever, and I rent it out in the meantime? And every time I do that gut check, I'd be like, oh no, I don't want to be a landlord. Like, so I didn't know what it meant, and it took me several months because I'm looking online, I'm looking at properties, and every time I'm like, oh, the thought of owning another property and then having to rent it out and deal with that and then sell it, flip it, it's like, no, that's not right. So it took me a while to figure out what it meant. And then at the time I'd been going back and forth to Italy. I had a year-round place that I was renting in Italy outside of Florence. So I would go back and forth, but then I got my first cat and a second cat. I'd had cats before, but I was in a hiatus where I didn't have any cats. And it became more problematic to be able to go back and forth, but I loved being able to go there for the beauty and the nature. And I had my brand new motorcycle that I had over there, and I would go and ride in the countryside, the Tuscan Hills. And it was just, and I'm like, what I really want is kind of a place like that I can just drive my vehicle and go back and forth and get, but stay in Austin, live in the city, but then have my sanctuary place outside of the city. But I'm like, I can't get that in Texas because I'm landlocked here, and I can't, I'm not going to get the beauty that you have in Tuscany. Anyway, long story short, I started looking outside of Austin, and I'm like, okay, now we're starting to get closer to what this means. And I started looking at property 5 acres, then 10 acres, then and going from there. And I was getting more clarity and just following my intuition, like how does this feel? And I knew that when I saw the place that I was supposed to get, I would know, because I would always get that whenever I was renting a place or even buying my place. Anyway, I as I was getting clarity, and I just found a real estate agent that I could work with, because now I need somebody that isn't just a city real estate agent. They need to know septic systems. They need to know wells and all this stuff. So I found the person, and then we did one outing to go look at a property I'd seen already with another agent that was like kind of a bonehead. And I wanted to see it again. And we went, because I didn't have a car, I'd sold my Porsche Boxster at a few months before, a year before, I can't remember. But anyway, I only had my scooter to get around Austin, and I couldn't get out in the country. So he was able to actually come and pick me up, and we went. And then, like, within, I don't know, 3 days of that, that's when they said, okay, lockdown, real estate agents now cannot take their clients in their vehicles because of the stupid 6-foot rule, which was total malarkey. Anyway, so all of a sudden it's like, well, how am I going to look at properties because I don't have a vehicle? So anyway, I ended up recruiting a good friend of mine who became kind of my personal chauffeur, and I paid him to chauffeur me around these. But anyway, long story short, I found the instant my property came available and I needed to go through the learning curve. I needed to go through that process, and I needed to look at some properties to know what I didn't want. And I already knew some things that I was very clear about that I didn't want, and things that I did want. And then the instant my property came on the market, I'm like, that's it. Like, even after I'd seen hundreds and hundreds, and when you see pictures of things, oh, that looks great, but you don't know in real life. So, but the instant it came on the market, I saw it because I was looking every night at every listing that came on the market. It came on, I got the instant download. That's the place I'm going to buy. And again, this is after having seen hundreds, if not, well, thousands of properties online, and probably dozens in person. And I went and got my phone from the kitchen where I left it charging at night because I didn't keep it in my bedroom. And I went and got my phone, and I turned on the audio recording, sitting in front of my computer with looking at these pictures of this place that I knew was going to be mine. And I made a recording and I said, nobody's going to believe when I say that I saw the place that I'm going to buy and this is the place I'm going to buy. So I made a recording to prove that I knew. And of course that's what I ended up buying. So my ranch that I now live in, where I love. And I've got amazing, beautiful, pristine nature. You wouldn't even know you're in Texas. It reminds me of Northern Ontario where I grew up, and beautiful forests. And so anyway, it's just like everything, it's just such an integral part of my life, getting information and then knowing, and it's a very clear sensation also. And I think everybody gets these pieces of information and they often don't pay attention to them because they don't always make sense. You don't know what to do with them. It's kind of like, even that download, the pathway, like, I don't know what that means. What is that? I don't know right now. Oh, and by the way, after we had our last conversation, what was that, a few weeks ago, I did get a very important piece of information that gave me the answer to something. And then I got several confirmations with these synchronicities that happened that were beyond the realm of probability, like impossible kind of things to happen, that 1 in a billion chance that this thing could happen. That was a confirmation of the download.
And for the audience, we've chatted, she and I have chatted a few times here off camera. This is our first official interview, hopefully not our last, every 6 months, every 8 months, whenever. We'll see if we can get you back on again, and people will know in the footnotes of the video, you'll see her if she accepted after we get off. We'll see.
Okay.
Leanne, how come you're not teaching manifesting, and can I not put you in the spotlight to answer this by stalling and putting Audrey back up? Just hear an absolutely ravishing yes, why not one day, and how much you'll run for the hills immediately. But then within an hour a day, the rest of the year, thinking about this, mulling it over, wouldn't it make total sense to help people get out of their own way and go for the show?
I've actually done a number of podcasts. So that is the topic. It has been the topic of conversation about manifesting your reality in several things. It's come up as a recurring theme, but I've also done specific podcast. I think one of them was with Christine Upchurch, who I mentioned earlier, that was specifically about manifesting your reality, and it's all about that. But it's been like even the one that I did earlier this year with Steve Harper, the ripple effect. That was about, it was about kind of some of the stuff that we talked about here about the downloads and how they, give me guidance, and how I think so many people do get informed information that comes to them, and it doesn't, you can use that and learn to know when you're getting very clear information that is right, no matter how logical it may seem, and then also how to cultivate and create whatever reality it is that you want, including, simply by focusing on what it is that you want to manifest, not the fear that you have about what, like, oh my God, what if I lose my job? What if this happens and I can't pay my bills? Because that's what governs a lot of people. They focus on their fear and they get stuck and they stop that flow. When you focus on, it doesn't matter, and I've done this for many, many years now, it doesn't matter what's going on, like, what do you want to create in your life? And you don't even have to have specific clarity about it. You just need to know, like, I want to do this thing. I want to help people. I want to, work. I want to have something where I'm working outdoors all the time. I want to be like where I can live, in beautiful nature. I want to be able to travel wherever I want. And whatever it is that you want, you focus on the desire and the want of what it is that you see yourself doing that. And again, it doesn't have to be 100% clear. Like when I was living in Italy, and the first place that I was living, I hated the apartment I was in, was so ugly, and it was like, oh, I hate this apartment. And everybody told me it's so hard. It was extremely competitive trying to find housing in Florence or around Florence. Things would come on the market and they get snapped up. There just wasn't enough rental property available for the number of people that were looking. So, and I was like, well, what I really want, I want to live in Bagnoli, which is outside. I want to live in the peripheral area outside of Florence, but I want to be able to drive and be in Florence very quickly within 15 minutes. I wanted to live in beautiful nature, rolling hills, have an amazing place, but I wanted an open concept apartment, which was unheard of in Italy because everything had little rooms. I mean, and they were designed that way so you don't have to heat the whole house. So it's like all the apartments were like compartmentalized, and you have like the hallway, and you've got this room and this room and the kitchen. I wanted a big open space. Anyway, long story short, I just started focusing. I started like writing first thing in the morning within 30 minutes. I don't have to do this part anymore, but this is a good interim or first step for people to actually write down a positive affirmation, first person present tense, as though it already exists. So I live in Bagno Ripoli. I live in a beautiful home. I have and there were things that I thought would be impossible. For example, and I had 2 cats at the time, I thought it would be impossible to have a ground floor entry but live upstairs, because ground floor convenience of getting into the house, but upstairs for the security part. And then like having my own outdoor space, which I thought that's also impossible. That's never gonna happen. You know, having my own parking space, that's never gonna happen. Because parking is so hard to find. And anyway, I ended up manifesting the perfect within 2 days of starting to write these things down, and also about how much money I earned, because I was like, I can't even afford a more expensive place. How am I going to do this? So I started writing down very specific things about I earn blah, blah, blah. I live in blah, blah, blah. I live in a beautiful, and I had no friends. I know it was so hard to meet people. I have all kinds of friends. I have, a whole social network. And this was my little list of things. I started doing it first thing in the morning. Within 2 days, I get a phone call, and I was teaching private English lessons back then, and I had every once in a while. And here comes another one of my dogs, just knocked down the barricade. Okay, another one of my dogs.
All the dogs are coming up.
They're all coming.
This is awesome.
I've got 9.
Okay, so how did it all wrap up in Italy?
Okay,
so you got all that.
So I ended up, I get a phone call from somebody who wants me to teach him and his son English. He's like, but can you come to us? And I'm like, well, I don't normally do that, but where do you live? Well, I live in Bagno Ripoli. I'm like, and he's a real estate agent. And so, but I'm talking to him over the phone. And I'm like, so we talk about the English because he has to do a job in the United States. He needs to practice his English. This is Apollo. We finished talking about the English lessons, and I'm like, by the way, I'm looking for an apartment in Bagno Ripoli. Do you know of any listings? And he said, oh, I'm not that kind of real estate agent. I'm a developer, but you have to have a real estate license. He said, but come to think of it, my wife has an apartment in a building that I gutted and renovated last year. It's a building from the 1600s, and I made these beautiful, it's like got 6 apartments in it or whatever. And I think hers is coming available next month. It's coming on the market. So I'll talk to her and have her, you can talk to her direct. And that's where it was this brand new, beautiful gutted, and he made it like open concept. So huge cathedral ceiling, all the original wood beam. Is this building from the 1600s that was a hospital, like an in-between place for people coming from I think from Prato going into Florence, and a halfway point, and it had walls that were like this thick. I mean, it was amazing. And that's where I ended up moving. And that happened within 2 days of me. And then I got another phone call from somebody who became a very good friend, created a whole network of friends with these people. It all came within 2 days of doing these positive affirmations. So everything that I wanted to manifest, and then all of a sudden I'm getting more English students, so I'm making more money. Because I was really unhappy in that apartment, but everybody told me, you'll never find and you want to live in Bagno Ripoli? Are you nuts? Everybody wants to live there. You're never going to find a place there. So I just said, okay, I'm going to create the reality that I want. And you have to just reject all these naysayers and like get that negative, because they want to program you. I mean, they're trying to help. They think that, it's like, well, forget it. You're never, quit hoping for something that you're never going to have. So, but I manifested all of it within like the first week of doing that. So, and it's a very powerful technique. I'd already used it in in other situations, but that was like a whole cavalcade where all these things happened at the same time.
What about bed? Before bed or first thing waking up, or the shower, or a dog walk? Are those four the strongest other moments? Does
Yeah.
it strike with your heart and say, universe, sock it to me?
Yes. Well, I find that even going into a bathroom now I don't need these tools that I used to rely on in the past. Like I remember when I was running my friend's upscale catering company and I was trying to figure something out, something for the business or something, or how to manifest something. And I'd be stuck on something. I'd go into the bathroom. I hadn't even I'd just walk in the bathroom, close the door, and it'd boop, the answer would come. I'm like, that's it. And I wasn't going to the bathroom. I had to pee, like I'm going to the bathroom.
But the body relaxes in that room. It knows it's a safe room, like the shower, like a dog walk.
Well, it's the water. It's like being around the water or being in water or being, in the middle of a shower. You get a lot of answers that way. What were some of the other ones that you mentioned?
Going before bed, waking up,
for a walk.
dog walk.
Yeah. Also, that time when you're just waking up, but again, like these are things that I used to do in the past, but now whenever I need, it's like, and the more, it's like a muscle that you exercise, the more you do this it's the same thing with seeing auras. I mean, I learned how to do that many years ago. I didn't know that I knew how to see auras, but and then you could see all this stuff. And then I just started practicing when I was living in Italy. So I started seeing more of the layers of the aura and more colors. And it's just like letting that information come through. And the more you do it, the more automatic it becomes. So it's all of these things. We if we practice, and same thing with the practice of not getting caught up in the fear, because the fear mongering is how people get controlled. And that's what mainstream media is all about, control people through fear, keep them in a state of fear. Oh my God, global warming. Oh my God, terrorism. Oh my God, now we've got these conflicts going on. Oh my God. And it's all to keep people fighting with each other. And then also to keep people in a state of anxiety and fear, because they're so much easier to control. So part of the muscle exercise is you have to consciously say, push that. You can only have one conscious thought in your mind at a time. So you have to push that fearful thought out and replace it with the thing that you want to manifest. So it's like literally reject that. Don't let that sit in your conscious mind. And it requires being cognizant and aware of those thoughts that are coming up. Instead, if you all of a sudden feel like, something made me stressed out, rewind. I used to have to do this, what was it? And it might be something, I may have seen something on a table that gave me a flashback to a memory of something that was stressful. And I don't even know because it happened so quickly. But if I go back, I'm like, yeah, I looked at that thing and then it reminded me of that situation I had, or maybe when I was little and that experience. And then it immediately brought up that feeling. And you can, neutralize that and being aware of it, it's like, okay, well, this is where I am now. I'm creating this reality, whatever. And again, if you are wanting to create some specific thing or a general thing and you don't have the specifics. And by the way, that apartment, it had a ground floor entry with my own terracotta outside. So I could even have my outside bench. It had its own parking lot, for 6 cars. It was for each one for one of the apartments. And it was just a miracle that all of these things, and then that, like I said, the big open vaulted ceiling with multiple, so it had steps. It had the living room, then 2 steps, and then the kitchen, and then 2 more steps in the bedroom, and this bathroom with the jacuzzi bathtub. And it's it was just phenomenal. All these things that I thought would be impossible because they don't even make places like that in Italy. So but yeah, the exercising part is, okay, this thing came in. Oh, and obviously don't watch mainstream media because you're just feeding that. And a lot of times people watch the news first thing in the morning. They watch the news the last thing before they go to bed. And you are programming your unconscious mind with that toxic fear mongering. It makes it really hard to get back in balance and to stay in that calm, centered, connected place. So you have to get rid of the garbage. I call it the sand in your gas tank. So if you're feeding your body garbage food, if you're feeding your body garbage information like mainstream media, programming and propaganda, you have to make a conscious choice. Let go of the addiction to that stuff that's not serving you. Get that out of your life. And then replace it with the healthy information, healthy thoughts, healthy, connecting and being out in nature. That's where you connect to your core self and you connect to the greater consciousness, and you get all that life force energy, that abundance of life force energy. You get all of that. So making time in your schedule to do that, to give that gift to yourself and go in nature. It doesn't mean go to a park in the middle of the big city. That's not the same thing. It's not, it's better than nothing, but it's not the same as getting out in nature. So anyway, there's just little things that you can do, and walking is another good thing. But when you go for a walk in nature, go by yourself or go with somebody and you're going to have an agreement. We're not going to have a conversation, because conversation pulls you into left brain. So you can't, that was what I was talking about earlier when you had Joy up on the screen and I was listening to your words, and I wasn't even tuning in, because I'm like, your story was interesting. So, but if you, and the same thing if you want to cultivate a flow practice, it's like, don't have a conversation at the beginning, because you're training your brain and your psyche to be able to get into the zone, get that connection with source, and conversation pulls you into left brain. You want to be in that, timeless, boundless, space and connecting ability, which is not the conscious, like thinking, analyzing, that sort of thing. But you can get, when you practice, you can actually get where you can toggle back and forth very effortlessly and easily. Just like when I first moved to Italy and I was learning to speak Italian, and I'm now mother tongue fluent in Italian. I was within the first couple of years, but and I lost my accent by the fourth year. Italians thought I was mother tongue Italian by my fourth year there. I didn't have a Canadian. I used to have a Canadian accent, not an American accent. People could tell. They thought I was from the UK. Anyway, it was exhausting at first when I was learning Italian, and I'd be at a dinner party and everybody's speaking Italian, nobody speaks English. So I have to I want to engage, and I'm like, you're trying to understand what they're saying. And it's exhausting at first, because you're like, okay, I know that word. What are they talking about? And then trying to communicate. But then as you practice and you get back, you get more fluent. But then I'd have friends that would come and visit me, like from California, where I'd been living at the time, or my sister would come and visit. And I couldn't speak English fluently anymore because I was reverse translating. So the first couple days, I'd be like, my English would be faltering, because I was used to thinking in Italian, and now I have to speak in English again. And I'd be like, to me, it sounded like I'm choppy, because I'm having to think, I'm thinking in Italian. How do I say that in English? It was very weird. But then within, a couple of days, then I could start going back and forth. Okay, now I can speak in English and Italian, English, Italian, and toggle back and forth. It's the same thing when you get into flow. When you're first learning how to do that, if somebody comes and has a conversation with you, it'll pull you out of flow. And then it's like, I was just getting in the zone and now I can't get back. But the more you do it, then you can toggle effortlessly. That was an experience that I had in that first beginner painting class. I was trying to get in the zone, and I just start to get in the zone. And then the teacher would come around and ask me a question. I'm like, I was just getting in the zone. That's why I started painting at home, because it was fruitless to try to do that, because the teacher would, trying to be helpful. And I'm like, I'm trying to get in my zone. And you just pulled me out by asking me this dumb question, which has nothing to do with what I'm trying to do. So anyway, go ahead.
I've got, which one was your favorite angel or Sai Baba? Joy, Charlotte, Min. So pink, blue, or water, or Audrey. Who was your favorite if you could only pick one?
Well, the one, even though, which one was the pathway that I got? Was that Joy? Charlotte. Oh. Was that the one where I got the pathway?
Joy, the pathway.
I mean, that was the...
Go ahead and ask her if you've got this, and get one thing from her. It could be a smell, a feeling. It could be light symbol if you shut your eyes, but you can have a light symbol in front of you in the air. It doesn't matter which way.
I'm feeling there's something over here. I don't know what it is.
Ask your own crew to help you more illumination to it, or clarity. Like a thunderclap. And breathe through your mouth to turn up the volume.
Yeah, I always forget that. It does make a difference.
And then say, got it when you got it.
I have, it's vague. I can't, it's not clear. And it's like an actual, there's a thing here. There's a thing.
Oh, no worries. It'll tumble through. We can follow up after the show or in the weeks ahead. But ask if I've got permission to do this. I'm just going to whoosh you one time only. Rainbow light. You put your hand up, I put my hand up, but only love and above. I think we did this like last time we talked. We know it works. But we're going to, for the sake of brevity, we'll just do it once. And this way, yeah, people can feel rainbow light. It's big. It's from Rainbow Land. We'll call it Universe Cosmos. It's healing. It's the universal love factor here. So I'm whooshing it with this hand. My microphone is up here. I'm gonna blow a little bit. You might catch Hawaiian breeze on your nose. Just feel what you can feel, not just here and on your body, but maybe up your back. If it's been a long week or a day, people at home, ask to get like a little massage. This is all angels. We're blaming angels for this, or light beings. Okay, here it comes. And did you feel that one A-okay?
Yes, I got a very big wave of like a, I don't know, I felt like my body shook. I don't know if I visibly shook, but that's often when I get that kind of surge of energy. I can like, it's like
I've seen you do the shake. This time I was doing other stuff I didn't even see. But audience at home, great chance to put a comment in. Did she move or did she not? Did you feel it? What was really cool about it? And if you're shy, like almost 500,000 people have visited this channel, by the time you see this, it'll be over 500,000. But type in emojis. It's the safe way to go. 5 emojis. What are you going to pick? Okay. Leanne, what's a final way to wrap this up? A reminder that you got no limits. Really, truly, it's for real. You got no limits in life, but what do we do with that simple phrase?
Yeah. That's kind of a good way of encapsulating it, because we're conditioned to think that we are limited and everything, and we're controlled and we're limited, and there's only so much that you can do, and don't color outside the lines. But literally you can manifest anything that you want, anything. It's like including abundance. And it's about focus on what lights you up, not about like, oh, I want to be able to, pay my bills, or like thinking of the minimum. Like, it's like, think about what is it that would be your perfect life, not about like, oh, I just want to be able to, go to my job and put in my hours and pay my bills. Nothing. Think about like that, what you even might think is impossible, because, like that apartment that I found in Italy that had all these things that I didn't even think would be a possibility. So I wasn't even putting them in my list. I thought about them and I thought, well, I can't have that. But even just the awareness of what is it that you would absolutely love to create in your life? What is it that makes you excited? What do you love doing? And realize that you can do all of that and more. And it's like, it's about reversing the programming and being, hey, Aurora, she's in the living room. She's not supposed to be down there. So sorry. Like I got,
we're wrapping up shortly. So it's about getting out of your own way, getting out of programming, allowing real possibility.
But yes, but realizing that you can create anything, no matter, it doesn't matter what your background is. I came from a very traumatic, tumultuous childhood. It's not about like, oh, I needed to have the perfect, happy childhood to be able to be successful in life. So whatever it is that you have, but because we know what we like, we know what we enjoy doing. Think of what makes you like. I love my dogs. I want to have one dog. I never.
My back door is opening to the outside right now. I thought it was locked or closed. The wind just blew it this much. It's about to go bigger. So I think we're getting a signal from the universe. It's time to wrap it up.
But anyway, the thing is like, go, just be unlimited in what you, like anything that you, want to create. And it's focusing about the way that you can serve and be helpful. And I think we're all here to help each other. And when you're doing something that you are helping each other, helping other people, going out of your way to help others, I always talk about paying it forward. My dogs are like, you're
This is
wrapping it up
awesome.
now. It's like they're feeling the energy shift. Then that's where we were truly thriving. So that's the one common denominator. The people that I know that are the most successful and the happiest are doing something that they love to do that is in service and helping others. And you can be making a lot of money while you're doing that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because we do need to be able to take care of ourselves. And we need to, the more you are happy and thriving, the more you can be, help in service of others. Just like, put that oxygen mask on yourself first, so that you then are not passing out and you are there to help your loved ones, when the plane is crashing. So you're going to be the one that's like, okay, calm in the state of, chaos, and able to be that kind of beacon guiding light for others.
Leanne Venier, beautifully said. Thank you so much for sharing all the love that's in you and around you. We're going to get you back on one way or the other. People are going to figure this out, and it'll be in the note field of the video. Leanne, you're awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much for doing your amazing work in the world as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love talking to you. Okay.